Kevin Durant denying the rumors that he talked to Harden about coming to Brooklyn. So he basically knocked down the report by a reporter. He said, I don't know where you're making these stories up, and that anybody can make up a story that gets traction. And the question that I want to ask you guys is Kevin Durant lying about not talking to Harden about coming to Brooklyn?
Yeah. I think they've texted each other a few times. I think they talked about it in person. So I think all these players essentially lie. It's just when they get caught and the media catches it, they feel like they have to say, oh, no, because we didn't do that because it's a part of tampering. But I do feel like him and James Harden have definitely spoken about teaming up and playing together. And I feel like all players do that in the league, talk about it. Because the NBA now, people are more friendly. They're friendships, groups, all this. Like, they're more close together. So I feel like they've definitely had this discussion during all-star games when they hang out in the summer or open gyms. So, yeah, I definitely think he's lying.
I think so too. I think they spoke. They've been playing together this summer, if I'm not mistaken, which is where these rumors began. I think they definitely mentioned it to each other, like especially with Harden wanting out of Houston. I think that was a thing before the Nets even came up in discussion. So I'm sure there was a little, like side note, even if it was a joke, oh, hey, come to Brooklyn, whatever. I don't think it was what everybody's making it out to be. I don't think it was Kevin Durant laying out a sales pitch. Here's this, this, and this. We could give up this for you. Actually planning out and plotting a trade for him to Brooklyn. I think there was probably an offhand comment or something, and it spiraled into this, but the media made it out to seem like Kevin Durant was actively recruiting James Harden to Houston, which I don't think it was, and I think that is why he shut the rumors down the way he did. But yeah, I'm sure he did say something to James Harden when they were playing pickup. It would be silly to think he did.
I think it was much more than that. I think Kevin Durant wanted James Harden, and James Harden went to Houston and said, look, get me to Brooklyn. He said he demanded a trade. He said Philly or Brooklyn, but Brooklyn's his preferred destination. Why? Because he's linked to Kevin Durant. Do I think that Kevin Durant went to the front office and said, make this happen? I don't think that. The only reason Kevin Durant knocked down this report is because he doesn't want to have beef with his teammates. You don't want to go into the season when you guys haven't traded James Harden yet and have Karis LeVert, Dinwiddie, Jared Allen looking at you, looking at half of the team basically saying you wanted to trade us. And at the end of the day, who cares what those guys think regardless, because it's for James Harden. But what I'm saying is that you don't want to cause a rift in the locker room. I also don't believe in Kevin Durant's way of doing this, because just how he doesn't like it when reporters are coming at him or asking him questions about trades or free agency or these rumors or whatever. I mean, when you knock down a report, basically calling it false, that it's made up, now you damage the career of that reporter because you're basically damaging their credibility moving forward. And I think that's not right to do when it's obvious Kevin Durant is lying. Throughout his career, he's been lying about things like this. And Golden State, when they asked him about free agency, he basically said he was going to stay in Golden State. Then on the podcast, on All the Smoke, he said mid-year he was going to leave regardless.
Game with him and Kyrie, they was talking
and
about
he knew he was going to leave regardless. Then in OKC, he said that there were no problems with him and Westbrook.
He would never leave.
Like Westbrook and him are brothers. He would never leave. Then when he leaves, he doesn't even text or call Westbrook and tell him, hey, I'm going to leave. And Westbrook finds out like the rest of us. I think this Kevin Durant.
It's a snake.
I think what Kevin Durant did is kind of messed up because you're ruining the credibility of a reporter that can ruin their career. Just say no comment or just say, I worked out with James Harden, but, I'm not trying to, we haven't talked about that. Or just say it's a private conversation. You don't have to go and say that reporter's lying or the story's false and it's made up, because that now is taking it too far.
Well, you're just assuming it wasn't made up. Like, I understand why you're saying that, but
you just said, you literally just said it'd be dumb to believe that they didn't have a conversation about that.
Yes, and I also said it's not what it was made out to be, and it was only made out to be that way through reports that made it seem like Kevin Durant was actively recruiting James Harden to Brooklyn, which then in turn...
I'm pretty sure Malika Andrews reported that, and she's a credible reporter.
Yeah, no, 100%, but I'm just saying the story can be twisted. It's like a game of telephone. The story can be twisted source through source through source, and I'm just saying, I question that Kevin Durant would have a conversation like that and pick a game that probably included other Nets players because, again, he was playing with Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie all summer long, and those are the guys that everybody was talking about in trade packages. So I question that he would do something like that coming off of the heels of what happened in Golden State, what happened in Oklahoma City, and the reputation that he has. I don't know that he would go about it like that.
But after you play a pickup game, you go onto the bench and you talk, you laugh. They could have done that. It couldn't have just been something on the court that, Kevin Durant gets a bucket and James Harden's like, yeah, man, I want to go to Brooklyn.
I want to start by saying this.
Something different.
Let me start by saying this because you said Kevin Durant, Karis LeVert, and Spencer Dinwiddie all worked out. And that's fair. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Nolan worked out. But Steph Curry and KD were never off-court friends. Like they might have been cool, but they never – When the game is over, they go their separate ways. And
I could tell you this: Kevin Durant and Karis LeVert are very close.
Yeah, and Karis LeVert is one of the people they're trying to keep in Brooklyn. I know that for a fact in the trades. But I would say this: that story about Kyrie, like the last year in Golden State, when Kevin Durant was dodging the media, telling them there is no rift, telling them he's gonna stay, telling him all this nonsense, and then on that podcast talking about him and Kyrie made the decision to go to Brooklyn. When Kyrie was also lying too. I think we all remember that.
And he promised to stay in Boston.
Yeah, Kyrie was also lying.
That was early when he did that.
No, but he also after that he said he didn't make a decision yet. That's the lying part. Him and KD said they didn't make a decision yet. But at that All-Star game, they both said that they were talking about it and they made the decision. We're going to Brooklyn. That's where we're gonna go. So it's like
they were premeditating where they were gonna go.
Yeah, like you can't like he said, that puts bad rep on the person that's reporting,
and I guess
you make it seem like they're a bad reporter when they're not.
It's okay if you don't comment on it or you basically say that you haven't thought that far. But when you go on to say that the media is just after that, they're just out to get you, and you're just a victim in this whole thing, and that the reports aren't credible. When all of these reports that KD has been attacking in terms of the media just being out to get them, have you noticed that most of them have been right? About him wanting out of OKC, about him wanting out of Golden State, about him going to New York, whether it wasn't the Knicks, but it was Brooklyn. They've been true. And this whole way,
you can't slide that in there like that's the same thing.
And this whole way, Kevin Durant has been saying that all of that stuff that has come true was false. You shouldn't be bashing a reporter for a report that's probably true.
I think that there's a drop of truth in everything, but when you go back and look at all those reports,
your analogy.
It's not even an analogy. When you go back and look at those reports, I think that all of them were stretched more than what they were at the time, and I think that this report is another example of that. Like I agree. There's probably a grain of truth in this. They spoke about it at a pickup game one time, but again, I don't think it was made out to be what the report said it was. Kevin Durant was actively pushing the Nets to go out and get James Harden. Like
somebody said, swap Harrison Barnes for Chris Middleton. And they go back to back. He's not lying, but I want to say this because to your point, when they talk about how KD was bashing all these reporters, there was this one reporter. He reports for the Tribune for Golden State, and he was talking about he put out this report on how Kevin Durant is jealous of Steph Curry, how the fans love Steph Curry dearly, and they don't treat Kevin Durant with the same. They treat Steph like a god in Golden State, and they don't treat Kevin Durant like the person he feels like they should treat him. He says that was false. He never acted like that. He never felt that way. He goes on the same podcast with what's that, Matt Barnes and
All
Steven Jackson. He goes on All the Smoke and says, "Yes, I was jealous of Steph Curry and all the hype." So that's that goes back to.
But I don't think that was the problem, though. I've said that multiple times. I think that the problem was Draymond, because I think he was fine giving Steph Curry the spotlight, like LeBron was fine giving the spotlight to Dwayne Wade when he went to Miami.
It's the point of you make these reporters look like they're lying, and then you bash them throughout that whole process, and then a year later you say, "Oh no, that was true." Like that's not cool because you put a bad rep on them and you make them lose their job, and then they can't report the same way because you make them look bad.
They won't lose
Nobody's
their job,
losing their job,
but you make people question what they reported.
Yeah, and then you look like a snake. Like you're a snake. Like that's not cool.
But it's like I said when you said it. Even in that report, I think it was only half true, because I think if it was just Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, he would have been fine sharing that spotlight. But the fact that Draymond Green was taking the ball away from him on a last-second shot opportunity, that's what really got Curry.
Yeah,
I disagree.
I really think it was just Curry, because Kevin Durant's a jealous man, and he felt when he got to Golden State, when he won, we should have gave him more credit, and nobody gave him credit. He felt like Steph Curry in Golden State was praised like Michael Jordan in Chicago, and he was praised like Scottie Pippen. That's how he legit felt. But you were never gonna get that praise. That's like LeBron. When LeBron went to Miami.
I think he was annoyed by Draymond, but he was what's the word for this?
I disagree.
He threatened by Curry.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm going to say almost completely the opposite. I think that he was annoyed by Steph Curry getting the shine, but I think that Draymond is what pushed him over the edge, because when you hear the story, you guys keep laughing.
He's a 7-point per game scorer.
When you no, I get that. Serious. That's the thing that I'm saying. Like, when you look back, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson never would offer any pushback, and that is widely reported that they would never, they were doing anything to cater to him. The only one that would ever say anything to him is Draymond Green, because he's the only one out of that group that has that abrasive personality. Yeah. So if it wasn't for him, I bet Kevin Durant would still be in Golden State, because Steph Curry and Klay Thompson would cater to him and make him seem like he was the number one guy if that's what he wanted.
I think he was always going to leave, because he felt like it's like when LeBron went to Miami. LeBron knew Miami would never treat him like Dwayne Wade. But he still didn't need that validation. Kevin Durant needs that validation.
Towards the tail end of his Miami days, that was LeBron James' team.
No, it was always LeBron's team, but he never would get the
But
LeBron
Dwayne Wade
County.
is loved in Miami way more than LeBron.
Yeah.
Even if LeBron was a better player, Dwayne Wade was always loved more in Miami. That was his city.
And that's why I think he went to Brooklyn, because he wants to make it his. Like, he feels like he needs to make it his thing.
Same thing with Kyrie leaving LeBron.
So let me ask you, in that sense, bringing it all full circle, if that's what he wanted out of this, then why would he ask for James Harden to come in? Because if anybody's gonna,
because everybody thinks KD's better than James Harden.
If anybody's gonna challenge him for the spotlight, coming off an Achilles injury, Kyrie's not gonna challenge Kevin Durant for the spotlight. I love Kyrie more than the next guy, but
it's different when it's Brooklyn. Brooklyn has never won a championship in their history. Golden State came off an historic season and they already won a championship.
I think that's not what he's saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, because you're talking about James Harden coming into Brooklyn and being looked at as number one guy and taking more of the credit. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, what I'm saying is that people think Kevin Durant is a better player. And if you're banking on who to be better in the playoffs, I think Kevin Durant will be better in the playoffs than James Harden. Mm-hmm. And even if they win, that's James Harden's first ring. That's KD's third ring. So at the end of the day, James Harden, if anything, has to take a back seat if he goes there. It's not the other way around where KD had to learn to fit in with these guys.
I love that you look at it that way, but the wide range of the basketball community would not. That's just the way Kevin Durant is looked at. His 2 rings are a fraud, whatever, yada, yada, this, that, and the third. And if James Harden came to Brooklyn and they won a ring, it would just be spun as Kevin Durant taking a backseat again to another super team. Like, he would not get any credit for that ring. Even if they win this year, I guarantee you there's going to be people that discount his ring because him and Kyrie teamed up in Brooklyn.
No. Now you're just stretching.
I think if Harden goes there, people are going to look at it like, all right, well, your team is kind of loaded. But I think if just Kevin Durant and Kyrie win it, I think the league is even enough where they're going to say, all right, no, this is a good win. This one's meaningful.
Now we're going to move on to the next topic. And I'm just to end off that, I don't think that Kevin Durant would get less credit because people already have a reputation of James Harden, that he's a choker. So if he wins a championship, if anything, people are going to look at KD differently for winning it. And plus, it's different because it's going to be the Nets' first championship in team history in New York, in Brooklyn. If you do that, if you do anything great in New York that stands the test of time, you'll get immortalized forever. KD's going to get a statue in Brooklyn if he wins him a championship. And that's what he wants to love. He doesn't. He just didn't like it because Curry got the credit.
And if he traded for James Harden, he'd have to share that statue. So why would he want to bring in another guy that he'd have to share the shine?
I think that's always when Kevin Durant wanted, though, a statue somewhere.
He just wants
to
be
let
loved
him go out and earn it.
He was never going to get in Golden State.
No, I'm saying in Brooklyn.
Oh, he got
rather
he
than
got
trading for another superstar.
I
think he feels he can do it on his own. It would be nice to have James Harden if they could get him at some cheap discount price.
Oh my God!
But
just say you don't want James Harden in Brooklyn.
No. I don't think you're hearing what I'm saying. It would be nice. I'm saying for in his mind, it would be, and that's what I'm saying. He dropped this little thing like, yeah, it would be cool to have you come and play in Brooklyn. But in the reality of it, like I don't think he wants to expend all these assets and kill his depth for another guy who's just going to take his shine.